Welcome, this is Shakti Carola Navran and this is my first live forecast here on Facebook for you. So I already had some excitements because I had it all set up and tried out with my iPad and then it didn't connect with the internet for some reason. So now I'm on my iPhone, one of my many gadgets. So anyway, welcome and I'm glad you're joining me. So this is the first one out of series. I am planning to do this every Sunday at noon Hawaiian Standard Time, and my intention is to give you an overview for the coming week, what to expect, so that you can kind of surf the wave, as we say here on Maui. So I'm an online astrologer because I live on this tiny little island on Maui, and that's my way to reach out into the world. A little bit about me. I'm a published author with Llewellyn. I wrote a book into an introduction into astrology and how you can use gemstones to support certain areas in your chart. So you can use gemstones as a focus point. So here, this is my high wisdom thinking stone I'm using always when I do readings. So I have been doing astrology for 38 years now, so I'm really passionate about this because I have seen it really do magic for many people in their lives. So I'm a Gemini rising myself, so I'm an educator. I love to teach about astrology and how you can use astrology for your own purpose and to become more aware of your own potential. So this weekly overview, of course, it's going to be kind of general. So it will become more specific if you know your chart. So, for example, if I talk about the moon and the moon moving through the different signs and what that means and what potential that holds for you, it would be very helpful for you if you know where that is happening in your chart and what it is activating in your own chart. So astrology as I use it is not a fortune-telling system. So I'm not a fortune teller, I'm not talking about events manifesting out there, but I'm talking about the underlying currents. I'm talking about the archetypal potentials. And that is actually even more helpful for you because that will enable you to connect with the high-end possibilities. So I'm what we call an evolutionary astrologer. So I look at everything from the perspective of your soul. So I just know that everyone lives their chart. The question is just, do you do it what we would say on the lower end of possibilities, or do you do it on the high end of possibilities? And usually we're kind of somewhere in between. We start out more in the lower range of possibilities, and so smarter and more mature we get, we figure things out. We get better at things. We get better as being ourselves and a fuller potential. So if you don't have your chart, I have a gift for you. You can go to my website later and sign up for my newsletter, and then you get access so you can get your own chart. And also I give you your love stone, as I call it, which is based on the Venus position in your chart. So you get a report for that, so you get an idea what the gemstones can do for you. So that's a way to get started with really tuning those general forecasts I'm going to do back into what does it mean for you? What does it mean in your life? And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to talk a lot about the moon moving through the different signs for the week, because the moon in your personal chart is that emotional set point. We look at the moon in the chart as our emotional filter. It shows us who we are, what we need to do in order to feel safe, first of all, very important. And also what we need to do in order to actually thrive, to have a joyful experience. So you really want to know where your moon is in your chart. And then when the moon throughout the week moves through the different signs, it kind of adds an additional perspective onto how you emotionally perceive the world, the people around you. If you get upset, or if you're kind of bored that day, or it's kind of another layer onto who you are emotionally in the world. So when we work as astrologers, helping people to find special launch days to start a project, like launching your website or launching a business, these things should be done under the eyes of an astrologer, because then you can really make sure that that beginning seeding moment has the potential you're going for. So yeah, so we're going to talk about the moon and the different signs to make you more aware for what it takes and how personal those emotions moving through you on those particular days, how personal they actually are. I haven't done this Facebook live thing before. I was expecting to see some comments. There's nothing there yet, so please let me know if somebody's out there, so at least I know I'm not talking into empty space here. But also, if you leave me messages later on, it will be posted on my site, so I can, and I promise I will get back to comments and respond. Okay, so let's get started. What we wanted to talk about. So when you know your chart and you know what's going on in the general situations in the heavens, then you have more of an attunement into the here and now. And that is actually the PowerPoint of our existence. So that's actually the only moment which really counts, because the past is just memories and the future is just what we're creating in the moment with our set point, our emotional set point, our mental set point. So the here and now is our point of power. So that's why astrology can be so helpful to root down and to develop that witness, that inner witness, to watch ourselves. Why did I respond this way right now? Or after a while you would get a choice how you want to respond. So I want to talk first of all today about the moons coming up. So we're still under the influence of the new moon happening last night, but depending where you are in the world, it might be actually today. So the new moon is per definition a new beginning. So the moon takes around 28 days to go through this cycle of new moon, and then it's waxing, full moon, where something comes to flowering, to full consciousness, to full reflection. And then we have the waning phase. So actually in the birth chart, it's quite important under which moon phase you're born. So you might want to check that out. So anyway, the new moon is a new start, a new emotional starting point. So Virginia, hi, good. I love to see you there. Thanks for commenting. So I know at least one person is out there. Okay, so, and then of course it depends in which sign that new moon is. So this new moon was in Gemini. So that means the energy of Gemini is what starts onto this emotional journey. So Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Gemini is air. Gemini is between things, is flexible, is curious. So Gemini is a sign which really connects us through our consciousness with the world. So something new is starting on an emotional journey of maturation, as I like to call it, in perceiving ourselves in a new way, maybe being curious about different things. And then we have on Monday a Sun-Venus conjunction in the same sign of Gemini. So Venus, the goddess of love, harmony and beauty, brings in that heart quality. So I would say this month starts out under that heart quality, that openness to connect to new people, to create new connections, friendships. So that's a starting point. And so we started out with the new moon in Gemini, so that's kind of playing out through the months. That's kind of the kernel, the seed, the blueprint of the moment, which is evolving throughout the months. And then we will have on Sunday evening, so tonight at 8:41, we're gonna have the moon move into Cancer. Into Cancer. So Cancer is a very different sign than Gemini. So with Gemini, we go out into the world, we connect. With Cancer, we kind of more inwardly. So Cancer is ruled by the moon, so it's in its own sign, and it's more emotional. It's more in contact with what is going on inside. So Cancer, ruled by the moon, is a sign of family, of the people we feel bonded with. Cancer is about nurturing others, but we can only nurture others if we have something to give. So it always has to start with our own self, with our wisdom and knowledge. What do I need to do for myself to feel happy and safe? And then there is this overflowing happening. So on Tuesday, the moon is moving over into Leo at 11:47 p.m. So Leo, again, is a more outward-oriented sign. And just for teaching purposes, when we go through the zodiac, starting with Aries, there's always kind of this momentum from outward inward. So each sign kind of builds onto the other. So Aries is that starting point, relates to the starting of the seasons with the spring equinox. So it's fire, is outward energy. Then it settles down in Taurus. Then it connects mentally, intellectually with the outer world in Gemini. Then it goes inwards, builds families, builds connections in Cancer. And then again, it goes outward in Leo. Leo is ruled by the sun. So here, when the moon goes into Leo, we have more a connection through our feelings to what Leo wants to do. And Leo with the sun wants to shine into the world, wants to express herself in the case of the moon. So it's an emotional need to be seen. So this is a good day, starting Tuesday, continuing Wednesday and part of Friday. This is a good day for you to get in contact with that part where you want to be reflected back, where you want to be on the stage, where you deserve to be in the spotlight and contribute from what you have to give, your own originality, your own gifts you have, and we all have gifts. So who came in here? Anne, hi. Well, I'm glad you found me. This is such an adventure. The iPad didn't work and now I'm on the iPhone. So life has really its challenges, but we're gonna muddle through here. I'm glad you're there. So we're talking about the moon in Leo, part of okay, late Tuesday evening, Wednesday, Thursday, part of Friday. So it's that part in us where we want to shine, where we want to be seen, where we want to be applauded. So thank you, Virginia. That's so wonderful. So yeah, so you might want to start with a project those days. Huh? So if you have to do a presentation, that's a wonderful part of the week to do that. So Cancer would connect you more with sitting on it and moving it around. And then when the moon goes into Leo, then it's your time to shine and bring it into the world. So there's nothing wrong with an ego. And we discussed it yesterday in my mastermind astrology tribe here I'm having once a month, that in order for spiritual growth, we actually do need to have a solid, grounded ego. So in certain Buddhist meditations, the master makes sure that you really have the strengths and the ego foundation. Like they have a meditation practice that goes 30 days into a darkened room. And after a few hours, hallucinations start. So if you don't have enough ground and sense of self, that can turn you crazy. That's a very profound, deep, intense practice. And there are more of those in different spiritual traditions. So to have an ego, to have something accomplished in the sense of self and self-value and the sense of dignity is actually a good thing. What we learn along the way is that we are not attached to the ego. It's a function we have and we use it. So there is a witness in us watching the ego, and that means freedom. But this whole new age thing of, oh, you shouldn't have an ego, you should transcend it, I don't support that. I think a healthy ego is what we're after. And then to develop that conscious witnessing function in us. 30 Days in the Hole. Love that song. Okay, I have to check it out. Okay, so Leo is a wonderful sign. It's really about that outward self-expression of your creativity, who you are. And with that, the ability to take responsibilities and leadership. And that might be a challenge for some people. So it really depends how it reflects back into your chart. Remember, for example, if you have planets in Leo in your chart, and then you have the moon going through that sign for a couple of days, that will be emotionally activated and in the forefront for you. So then we will have the moon going on Friday at 6:46 early morning into Virgo. So after that outward movement, we are more inwardly, we are grounded. Virgo is an earth sign, is ruled by Mercury. So very mental. Virgo is a sign where we are attuned to details, where we're able to take care for maybe boring things, responsibilities, a sign of duty. It's a sign of wellness and health. So all these subjects are what's more in the foreground for you to connect with emotionally. So because it's a sign ruled by Mercury, you will have actually additionally connection to understand that inner movements and be more conscious in how you want to use it. So in connection to health, you want to take care for your physical body. So because it's such a fast movement, you might just want to do something special, go out, have a massage, do a facial. Moon is always about nurturing. So here you want to nurture yourself in a very grounded, specific way. Also, the sign Virgo has a lot to do with service, High-end Virgo is about service and how we contribute. So actually it makes us feel really good if we are able to contribute. And then Saturday, all day Saturday, Virgo is there. So you might want to use your free Saturday to do something for others. I don't know if you already do some kind of volunteer work. So if not, think about it. This would be right in the flow with this moon in Virgo. And it would be something what nurtures you and makes you feel helpful and happy. I mean, the moon process through the zodiac is really about our ability to attune and tend to our own happiness and really thrive. So I already talked a little bit about the Sun-Venus conjunction on Sunday in Gemini. That will happen at 2:49 p.m. So the Sun is our life force energy, is our consciousness. Out there in the solar system, the Sun stands for it's a king. We could look at it, the king, where all the other planets have to revolve around the main gravity force there. So in us, the Sun represents our own sense of self, our own sense of identity, self-image, and how we do that shining into the world. So when that sun, that symbol for that shining, charismatic self-expression, oh, and you're Gemini with Cancer rising. Okay, so everything we talked about Cancer, and now with Gemini, that will apply to you. That's kind of stimulated, activated. So the Venus on the Sun brings in the heart quality. Venus, goddess of love, harmony, beauty, the arts. So, hi Diane, good to see you here too. Okay, so Venus-Sun conjunction means what the Sun has to give, to shine, to radiate out, will have the underlying energy flow of the Venus, of that heart quality, of that gentleness. But it is in Gemini, so a lot of it will be happening through communication, through expressing our thoughts, our feelings. So that should get you going there. Hi Diane, good to see you. Okay, another transiting force which will actually be happening throughout the whole month is Jupiter trining Pluto. Jupiter right now is in Virgo, will be trining Pluto in Capricorn, and that will peak June 30th. So that's a little bit down the road, but we are in that energy field, even if it's direct on June 30th. So Jupiter in Virgo is a wonderful energy, because Jupiter in the more mainstream astrology is looked at the force where we need to expand, where we grow bigger. So Jupiter has a lot to do with our sense of fulfillment and meaning and growing. So this wants to happen in Virgo, earthy, grounded Virgo. So where we will have the moon there this week. So we have these two connections there this week, which will help us to feel more connected with how we do that. And Jupiter always asks that question of, how have I underestimated myself? What can I do to grow, to be bigger, a bigger self of my true self? Then that is trining, and a trine is kind of a harmonic connection to Pluto in Capricorn. So Pluto, the god of the underworld. Pluto is the principle of deep, deep transformation. So Pluto is not well loved in the mainstream astrology community because it makes us go deep. We have to let go of something. We have to face some fears. and then we have to disengage. So Pluto always wants us to let go something, to let something die, and then we have that high potentiality of phoenix out of ashes. So that's a promise of Pluto, but we have to do some deep work in order to get there. So now the Jupiter is in a harmonious connection with Pluto. What means Pluto is not shoving it down our throat, but Pluto is kind of inviting us in. Pluto is asking us, so have a look at your life. Where do you want to grow? And helps us to let go and to face something. And as a result, we are able to take our fears under our arm and take a step into another direction. And commented a lot of Earth. Yeah. So, and Earth always represents where we have a tendency, low end, to get rigid, to get stubborn, to get identified, to ground our feet in, to root ourselves. So the Pluto invites us for that not to happen, invites us to let go, to really grow. So that's kind of one of the underlying threads for this month, and I think it's a wonderful thing. Okay, so my dears, if you don't have your chart yet, you can go to my website, sign up for my newsletter, and then you get access to that. If you want to participate in these weekly overviews, and I assume they get better and better, so sign up for under the video. I think there's a subscribe button. Then Facebook will keep you in the loop there. And let me see if I didn't forget anything. Yeah, I think that's so much what I have planned for. If you have any questions, now's the time to do that. Anne says, I do not have much Earth in my chart, so I need this. Yeah, it's going to be very grounded week then for you. So it brings your emotional awareness into that aspect of being in the world. So, any questions? I give it a moment here. Okay, my dears, then I close it down for today. So thank you so much for joining and supporting me. That was wonderful. And I really don't know why the iPad didn't work. It would be easier to read stuff. So, Anne here comes in with a question. What about Mars retrograde? Actually, I think I want to talk about that a little bit more in depth because it's still going on. In general, we can say that retrograde planets are revisiting themes, subjects, areas in the sign it retrogrades in, revisits to get a second chance. So in general, Mars retrograding in Scorpio is very deep. So it's an energetic attunement and deepening. And remember what I said about Pluto. Pluto is a ruler of Scorpio. So there is a potential for some violence with Mars. That would be the low end. But the high end is really to go into those unconscious structures of Scorpio and find something you really feel passionate about. That's a promise of Mars in retrograde. So I don't look at retrograding planets as bad planets. It's more like a second chance. We revisit an area we have already been in. And whenever we do that, I'm sure next week my life forecast will happening smoother. So it takes practice to get good at something. So I like retrograde planets for that reason. Mercury retrograde has that pretty bad image, and this time with a retrograde Mercury in Taurus, I actually was the first time I experienced it very strongly on the negative end of things. A lot of things didn't happen, lots of computer troubles. And then I realized, oh, I have Sun and Mercury in Taurus. So of course it impacted me stronger than when it's going on in some other sign where it doesn't trigger my own inner parts symbolized through the planets. So, and you're very welcome. Thanks for your question. Virginia, we are already in Mars retrograde. So that's already happening. Okay, my dears, thank you so much for your support, and come visit me here in Hawaii. We have a great day today, no sunshine in paradise. So I will see you for my daily forecast on Instagram if you want, or on my pages on Facebook. Shoot me your questions. I'm going to tend to them afterwards. And I see you in a week. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, thank you. Namaste, my dears. Aloha.